Hey, I'm Victor Margiotta, and this is The Community Show. I am excited to have Adam McCauley on the show. This is what this show is all about. I know I've said this before, but this is what the show is all about. The cornerstone of the community is the family. And the family starts with the parents. The parents teach the kids. This is, sometimes without even knowing that you're teaching kids, you're teaching kids. And me and Adam are going to talk about parenting. We're going to talk about discipline, which is huge. I remember having my teacher, Sister Helen Edward, and everybody said, "Oh, she's too serious. She's too serious." I said, "Well, she teaches discipline." And then, of course, I always got her to laugh because I'm a funny guy. But her whole air was being about discipline, about, there is a serious part of life that we have to deal with, and but we could always have fun. And I'd like to thank Adam for coming on. So
thank you for having me.
And
my pleasure.
I always ask, being that it is a family show and family oriented, talk a little bit about where you grew up and your family.
Well, I grew up in Mount Vernon, and I'm a baby of 5. My parents, Tom and Marianne McCauley, had 5 children, which the doctors, of course, said they would never have children. So my father jokes about it. He's like, "I want to find that doctor." But they had 3 children, and then they got blessed with twins. So me and my twin brother, we were the last of the pack, the herd, so to speak. And we grew up in Mount Vernon, and back then, Mount Vernon was the place to live. It was really the best part of Westchester County.
Sure.
And my parents moved there from the Bronx. And we had a really great childhood. We had a great upbringing. We were left to do a lot of things into our imagination and go out and play.
Yep.
And we'll see you when it gets dark. Here's a dime. Call us if you need us. So times have definitely changed.
Yep.
And like a double-edged sword, some good, some bad, and we'd love to talk to you about that and share what I've learned over the last 30-something years, teaching children and working with families, and sharing what
Well, I have to be a little biased. I feel like my parents were the best parents, and they had 10 kids.
You trump me.
No twins, no triplets. They had all 10 one at a time, and it was an awesome experience to be raised in an environment, and they were the best because they shared the love equally with all of us, and they never, it was always us first. If we didn't eat first, they didn't eat. If we didn't have, they didn't have. So, being raised in that environment. And they raised us Catholic, which to me, again, I have to be biased and say it's the best religion, but that's just me, And you can't beat it. We always had somebody to play with, we never had to want. And, I thought that was the most beautiful thing, being raised in that environment. And for you, the same, right?
Yes, and, Mount Vernon is like a mini city.
Mm-hmm.
So the difference between growing up there, we were very hands-on in terms of our own transportation. So we took buses, we took subways. My parents would take us down to the botanical gardens on the subway, and we were very close to the Bronx, so we were able to do a lot of those things. And foot traffic, we would get there by walking, and when you have 5 kids, you make it work, and they really did with what they had. And looking back now, and especially being a teacher, I see their shortcomings, and I can see how challenging things were even back then. And thank goodness for grandparents who could watch us, or older sisters, like in my case, where my older sister Linda, hey, just watch the kids, and she did a great job in that, and it was a different time.
My father always says the same thing. There was a point where we pretty much were taking care of ourselves. My older brothers would, watch us, the younger guys, and my sister, of course, was like the other mother. She cooked and cleaned, and also had to babysit us once in a while, and that was a great responsibility that she did that. So, and then that gave her segue into having 4 boys of her own.
Right, it definitely prepares her.
Oh, without a doubt.
Because I think differently growing up with big families. You have those siblings to really bounce off of. They make you tougher, and they make you, you know, a little bit more secure in being with somebody, especially a twin all the time. Yeah, I grew up with my best friend. So like when he was sick, I happened to have some kind of cold that made me want to stay home, and you know, so it was kind of cool, and to this day we're best friends, which is really wonderful. So.
Well, for me, having older brothers, I became a wrestler, you know, and you know, because I was always, you know, getting down and wrestling, and when I finally got on the team, I found out that the best wrestlers had older brothers that either wrestled or you know, that they just sparred with, you know. So, and speaking of wrestling, you got into the karate. How?
Well, basically, when I was younger, I was very confident, young. Yeah. And I truly believe, you know, kids are born confidently. It's like when they're walking, hey, they fall down, they get right back up. However, going through schooling and being made fun of was something that easily chiseled away at my confidence. And, you know, I had some challenges growing up when I was younger. My mom had some medical challenges, and I almost actually died when I was a baby. And they brought my mother, only my brother Peter. And to this day I can hear my mother saying, don't ever bring a Sicilian mother, just one child of a twin. So, you know, and she knew something was going on with me, and I had, you know, she had called in the middle of the night, and they told her that I was fine, but she was very persistent. So mother's intuition is very important, because she really forced them to go check on me. And had they not, I probably wouldn't be here today. So I was having an allergic reaction to some medications, and they said because of all those challenges, I would have a setback in my education. So they said I wouldn't pass 4th grade reading level. So my mother distinctively taught me my alphabet on my back, you know, drawing the letters, and working with numbers was always a challenge, and putting sentence structures together was always a challenge. You know, flash forward in life, you know, I graduated high school and with honors, college with honors, got a PhD in martial arts sciences. So it's really amazing what a parent and what a mother can do when it's really needed, you know. So I thought that was great, but at the same token, you know, I didn't have a lot of confidence because I wasn't good in any kind of education. I wasn't good in physical fitness. I wasn't into sports, so I was a very thin, scrawny kid with acne and braces and long hair, and you know, they would make fun of me. And being that we had a family of 5 kids, we had, you know, not the biggest incomes. My mother worked for the Commission of Human Rights for Mount Vernon, and my father was running a deli. So it was very, very challenging financially. So we didn't have all the Jordashes at the time, or the Pro Kids. We had the Skips, and we had the hand-me-downs, and we had the, you know, those type of things. And, you know, I had the bicycle that didn't have the brakes on it.
They had worn out sneakers.
So, you know, we didn't have the best of the best. And because of that, you know, you get made fun of, you know, and you get picked on. And, you know, Mount Vernon was a tough area to grow up through. And, you know, I just wanted to feel better about myself. So I went into weightlifting, which was not good if you're not good and if you don't have any confidence, because you're surrounded by all these good-looking people who are just like weightlifting, like tons of weights, and I'm like this scrawny kid trying to do something. It didn't work. So as I drove by this martial arts school in Mount Vernon, I said, I got to go in. And I never forget it, because when I went in there, I sat down with the instructor, and I asked him question after question after question. If you get to know me, Victor, I love to ask questions.
Well, that's a good thing.
And I just kept asking these questions, and he kept answering me. And he just had all these great things that I really wanted for myself, and he believed in me. And I never looked back, and it was just forward, fast forward.
Bullying has been going on forever. It's not something new. I mean, now it's an issue, because now you could even go home and be bullied on the internet, you know, which at least you're not even safe at home sometimes. So it becomes a bigger problem. But, you know, even me, I had 8 older brothers. I got bullied at home, and am guilty of bullying kids at school. I mean, I can't deny it. It did happen. And, you know, sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess there's a line that needs to be crossed, I think, you know, between fun teasing and mean teasing, you know, and fun teasing, we all kind of, even adults, kind of
friends,
like to,
of course,
you know, rank on each other a little bit. But, you know, and I teach the kids this, that mean teasing is when one person is laughing, and fun teasing is when we're both laughing about it, right?
Yeah.
So there is that line that really has to be not crossed. And, you know, for me, it was, you know, after school, when you get off the bus, I'm going to kick your rear.
Well, the bus was always a one spot. We actually have a little video to show of bullying, so let's take a look.
Excellent.
Okay.
1 in 3 kids will be bullied this year. Nobody deserves to feel this way. We have the answer. Confidence is the key to believing in yourself. To stand tall. And to live happy.
So, like I said, everybody at some point in their life has been bullied, and so that did make a change for you. And it would, in a way, it's a motivator. It could be.
Definitely, if you use that challenge in your life to propel you to do something about it. You know, so sadly nowadays, you know, it's like what you said, the cyberbullying is, you can't get away from it. So my safe haven was get home.
Yeah.
Get home, do your school,
Yeah.
get home, and sadly I would save my lunch money. I would not take the bus home, I would take cabs home, and once I was home, I was in my castle. So nowadays it's so sad because you leave and it stays with you, and not only one person or the 5 people that saw it happen, everybody hears about it. And that's the sad part, because then kids nowadays just can't get away from it. And whether you're a young kid who has internet access to a teen, a preteen, you know, it's really, really challenging. And the things that I had to learn through the confidence building of going to classes and feeling good about myself, it takes time. It takes time to do that. It's not something that happens overnight. And, you know, I try to focus on getting, I guess, the quick version to my students and the kids that I've been working with over the last 30 years on how to kind of really streamline that process. And then start to bring in, well, what about today's day and age of the cyberbullying? And, you know, just because someone says something doesn't mean it's true. So I'll use an example. I'll bring in like a magazine, and one will be like, oh, if you take this product, you'll gain muscle, right? And it's this gentleman, and then I'll show another magazine, and it'll be the same picture of the same guy, and says, this is where you lose weight. They'll use the same picture, and I go, hey guys, you see? Listen to half of what you really see out there, because a lot of it is manipulation, and sadly a lot of the kids do that. You know, they hear one thing and they manipulate it to really go against kids.
It's a confidence builder. Talk about that.
The martial arts?
Yes. Absolutely.
You know, I got into the martial arts to really build up my confidence, to stand up for myself.
Exactly.
And I remember talking to my instructor and saying, well, when am I going to get it? When am I going to feel it? Because for so long I was able to do all these great techniques, and when I had my uniform on, I felt like Superman, Victor. I just felt like, this is it, you know, rip open the chest, I'm good, right? But when I was in my regular clothes, I just felt like that Adam, that kid who was always, you know, an easy target, picked on, couldn't stand up for myself. And I would ask my teacher, when am I going to feel confident outside of my uniform? And he goes, I don't know. He goes, you're going to know one day. It's just going to happen. And it was funny because he came around the corner one day and went to throw a punch at me. I'll never forget it. And I went to block and then counterattack. And he goes, you got it. And I just looked at him. I was like, it. Okay, I got it. Which is like if I threw something at you as three things. You would let it hit you in the face, you would dodge it, or you would catch it, right? So a baby would just let it hit in the face because he hasn't learned that yet. And as you get older, you learn to catch it or get out of the way. And that's what we call it. Bruce Lee said it best. It has you. So it just comes out and then you don't have control over it. But then at a higher level of martial arts, you control it and then you can almost see it coming, almost like the Matrix movies. Yeah. So you can see things almost as slow motion, which is really kind of cool because you never think that you're going to get there. So through the use of martial arts and going through tournaments and practicing and winning trophies and losing trophies and the whole idea of learning from my mistakes, I start to build up that confidence. And I remember seeing the same kids that beat me up off that school bus that day. And, you know, in my head, revenge was sweet, right? And I was going to go right up to them and just, you know, get my day. And I realized what my instructor, my sensei, had taught me, which was martial arts is only used in last case scenarios. It's not used to hurt people, it's used to help people. Defense. So I realized that I was walking by, I was not scared. And that was my biggest takeaway from it was, I'm not scared. Like if these two kids who beat me up would attack me, I would be able to protect myself. So I just walked by. They didn't even remember me because I was one of many for them. But for me, I remembered them. Yeah. And I just walked by and I was so vindicated because I was just like, you couldn't control me anymore. And that's what it did for me.
Now, I was introduced to you by Moms Offer Me More. You have a...
yes, Moms Offer More.
You do an article on there, and I just thought, wow, this is awesome. Tips on parenting. I mean, you know, I kind of get away from when I was a kid, this is how things were done. Well, let's just offer people some ideas, you know, instead of trying to push it down, you know, down their throat and say, well, this is how it should be done. You know, I love the fact that you just gave some ideas, some tips, and I thought that was beautiful. But you did make the cover of that Cortland magazine, which I thought was cool too.
Yes, which was great. Lori Weiss started Moms Offer More a while back, and I've been writing for them monthly, and it's been a great way to get across information to parents who are looking to grow in their perspective. Of
course.
And sometimes, like my mom says, you guys weren't born with a handbook, right? But if you're open enough to step out of your bubble and say, okay, well, is there another way? Not a better way, not that I'm a bad parent or you're a bad parent. No. It's just a different way to look at things. Then maybe you can learn from that and grow from that experience. And then Cortland Living did a whole piece on me and my school and my family. My family works with us, with me. So I love being with them. That's awesome. Lori, my wife, has been part of the school for the last 15 plus years. And it's just Brian, my stepson, works with us, and he's in the office day in and day out working behind the scenes. And then Stephanie, who is the fiance to my other stepson, Dylan, also works at our front desk, and she's a big part of the school. So it's, you know, it's really cool because a lot of people say, well, it's nice to like the people you work with. I get to love the people I work with. So it's really nice. I mean, it definitely has its ups and downs, more ups than downs, but it's like anything. When, you know, when you're family, you have that more easier chance of dumping on those people. So it's really good to know that we can, at the end of the day, all come together and forgive and move on and just learn from it and just be a really good, well-oiled machine, I believe. So.
Now, you gave me an example of a kid that's not as disciplined as he should be during class. Explain that again, like an unruly kid.
Okay. So you're going to have those challenging situations. And I always say there's no such thing as a bad kid, just bad behavior, right? So if there's a kid with bad behavior, the instinct would be, hey, stop it,
Yeah.
knock it off. Do it again, and you're going to do this. You're going to do that. You're going to do this, and I'm going to take away TV forever. Yeah. Right? So a lot of people tend to go right into the disciplinary, right? And kids don't work well with that. Some do, you know, the few, the proud. So, you know, you do need some of those tools of the tough love to work. So I don't negate that part. However, certain kids, especially if you take it by ages, you have to kind of infuse the discipline and create self-discipline. So if there's Bobby who's being unruly and Johnny who's really paying attention, I'm going to focus on Johnny. Say, Johnny, wow, that's amazing. I love how you're doing that. Now Bobby goes, I want to be applauded. So maybe I'm just going to shape up a little bit. And then I look quickly to him and I say, wow, that's really cool too. I love how both of you are working together. So now you're really addressing it and you're not really putting them down because of it. And it takes a unique skill to do that and to catch it and not to go into default mode, which is just quickly pointing the finger. And I read this in a book where 3 fingers are pointing back at you.
Exactly.
So it's important to really get that part, and it's challenging. It's not easy because you automatically want to go on the attack.
You know, well, I taught religious instructions for 20 years, and you know, sometimes you got to have patience, and you know, some kids, they want to be funny, they want to, you know, get everybody laughing, and it is funny sometimes, but, you know, we're trying to get a message across, you know. I tell them, you know, I don't care, you know, how you react, but the whole idea is to try to get as much information as we can while we're here, and then later on you could use that information. That's why we're here, so that you can learn as much as you can, and then down the road, it'll come up, oh, now this is a situation where I can use that information. Right. And that's the same with what you're teaching, right?
Yeah, it's like the mind is like a parachute. It only works when it's open, right, type of thing. And it's so cliche-ish, but I remember Mr. Alberga, who was my, I think, 10th grade math, social studies teacher, and he was amazing. He was just amazing how he taught lessons to us. He would get on the chair, on the table, and recite what the Statue of Liberty said. Or like he would separate us by North and South when we're talking about the Civil War. And he would engage us. He would make us not just lecture. And sadly, a lot of parents are lecturing and thinking, wow, this sounds really good. I'm getting it. I think they're getting it too. And the kids like hearing Charlie Brown's teacher, you know. So you have to really be mindful of that and not just talk for yourself, but try to talk at the child's level, whether it's a young 3, 4-year-old or a 7-year-old, a preteen, and there's always different challenges with every age group, and then each gender has their own little challenges too. So you really have to kind of be precise on the direction that you go with it. And humor is really important. You know, I think it's difficult to be your child's friend when you're trying to teach them to be on their own for the rest of their life, and you have to teach them how to do that, so prepare them for that. And you really can't do that as a friend. I think a friend you should only be a friend of the child when the child is married. Then you can be their friend, and you can really give them advice, but really be a little bit lenient on it. When they're a child, they need that discipline. Kids need discipline because it makes them feel safe. It makes them feel like, okay, there's somebody in the driver's seat. I feel good about this. I might not like it, but I feel good about it. And that's important. But if you can infuse humor with it, make them feel good about it. I mean, we teach our leadership team that humor is a big part of leadership. And you know, when you and I can connect and we can laugh, it connects much better than being rigid, because anything rigid breaks.
So at what point did you decide to write the book?
I've been wanting to write a book for a long time, and with a friend's help of mine, I was able to get it all together and put it together, and with some guest authors that kind of wrote a couple of chapters with me was really nice. And it was just a culmination of lessons that I had taught, many of the articles that I had written for Moms Often More. I took those and I kind of put it all together, and we put together this book. And it was one that I was really working for a while on. I was excited about it because it it takes the ideas of a martial arts, Eastern philosophy, which has a lot to offer, but you know, if you can kind of put it together in a nice way, it just makes people understand. And then because I've been working with kids for so long, then maybe they can understand, hey, I used this and it was replicatable. And when you can do that year after year, age upon age, and get results, then that's something that parents don't have the luxury of having. You know, so, and then I wrote a little book, a children's book as well, so I'm excited about that as well.
Awesome. So we have a mutual friend, Molly Gibson, and you know, I live right next door to them, and you know, she's my friend. I mean, I started hanging out with her when she was 3, 4 years old. We'd be in the yard throwing the frisbee around, and you know, I feel like it's part of the community to be involved in your neighbor's life. I mean, that's where it starts. We all want to change the world for the better, but you know, it starts just by being nice to your neighbor, being helpful. Now I have 2 new friends next door, and you know, to me, I grew up in a big family and always, you know, played and had kids to play with, and you know, it's just in me that you know, and grateful to always have that child inside of me that wants to go out and play and have a good time. How do you feel like that is with you?
I am on the same ship.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, there's the saying that when people get old, they stop having fun. And I truly believe people get old because they stop having fun.
There you go.
I think you know, Molly Gibson's, she's a doll. Yeah. She is great from the beginning of her classes. I remember her to this day when she first started. Now she's one of our junior black belts, and she is amazing. She's so polite. She's so focused. She's such a great kid. She has a big smile on her face. She's always warm and loving and caring, and she's, you know, she told me when she was, I think, 9 years old, I want to work for you, sir. And I was like, you're going to. And she holds me to it. She's like, when I'm 14, I'm working for you. I said, absolutely. I already have your name tagged and ready to go. So, yeah, I think it's real important to connect with kids and remember that all we are is grown-up children. You know, we have our toys. They just might not be Matchbox cars. They're just, you know, other cars that we like to have. Maybe they're, you know, some other gadgets that we like to have. But we all like to have fun. And I think that's a big part of life. And, you know, I try to remember these 3 things in every day. And I tell them to my students, too. There's 3 things we should do every single day. Work hard, because you gotta have to work hard for the things you want in your life. There's no statues in the park with somebody who sat down and played video games all day, right? So you gotta work hard. You gotta have fun. You know, this is our life. We only get one chance, so have fun with it. Smile. You know, I'm having a blast tonight with you.
Thanks.
And then improve yourself, because Tony Robbins said it best: whatever doesn't grow dies. So we always have to constantly grow. We always have to push ourselves. We always have to become more stimulated mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, socially. So I think that's the big key. And you know, it's not easy. It's not easy to try to balance all that and still smile at the end of the day. So.
Well, I want to thank you so much, and I want to congratulate you on all your success. And you know, you said you even have kids that grew up through the program and now are doing this for a living.
Absolutely. We have kids that start at, our youngest is 2 years old. And to watch them in class and, you know, doing this for 30-something years now, I get to have like this time machine. I get to see the kids grow. You know, I have like a set of triplets who started when they were 3.5 years old. They're 14 now. And they're black belts, and they're still doing it, and they still love doing it. So
Excellent.
I love it.
Thank you so much.